It's time for Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll bring you into the locker room and hear from Coach Kerr and the players. Highlights from the game. Warriors Wrap-Up starts now.
Well, that is how you celebrate Big 3 Day. That is how you get it done at Chase Center, and that is how the Warriors get back into the win column. As they take down the Los Angeles Clippers tonight at Chase Center. Final score, Golden State 120, Los Angeles 114. Welcome into Warriors Wrap-Up. My name is Evan Giddings. I'll be with you up until about 11 o'clock. We appreciate you tuning in. 888-957-9570 is the number to call in. It's also the number for the the Comcast business text line. I want to hear from you after the Warriors find themselves back in the win column. Not necessarily righting the ship as of yet, but that to me is the epitome of a team victory. You're down 3 of your rotation players. Andrew Wiggins is out. Chris Paul is out. Gary Payton II is out. You're coming off arguably your most gut punch of a loss of the season in Sacramento, and you're playing a Clippers team that's won 4 of their last 6 games. You'll see them again Saturday, so you got a quick turnaround for a home and home. But for the Golden State Warriors, to me, that was the ultimate team victory. And there was a lot to like from this game. And I do want to get into some of the things, of course, that we'll continue to talk about throughout this season. But Curry was the closer. He had over 6 points had 11 points in the fourth quarter. 9-2 now when the Curry scores 6 or more in the fourth quarter. I thought Klay Thompson flipped the script from the first half to the second half after a 2-for-10 shooting first half. 15 points in the second half, including double digits in the fourth quarter. And then really the story of the game, the bench. The second unit for the Golden State Warriors, again, shorthanded because of Chris Paul's absence and Gary Payton II's now prolonged absence because of the calf tear. 44 points from the second unit, 3 players in double digits. I'm looking at Brandon Podziemski, Dario Saric, Jonathan Kuminga, I thought was fantastic tonight. Corey Joseph even was good in his minutes, though he only scored 1 point. And I thought Steve Kerr, as a head coach, corrected himself. He took accountability for not finishing with Moses Moody on Tuesday in Sacramento. Now, he kind of had to finish him with him tonight because he was starting. But he showed us that he was willing to trust a member of the young group, and that was Brandon Podziemski, who finished the game and closed the game for the Golden State Warriors playing 31 minutes. And Steve Kerr, cherry on top, also won a challenge that involved Brandon Podziemski. So Steve Kerr checked a couple of boxes tonight. The Big 3 checked a lot of boxes tonight. And again, it was just a great way to celebrate Big 3 Day here in the Bay Area. 61 combined points from Klay Thompson, number 11, Stephen Curry, number 30, and Draymond Green, number 23. 11-30-23, the date that is today. And it was also pretty cool, honestly, to listen to them after the game. They were, on NBC Sports Bay Area and speaking about the connection that they have, but also the fact that the Warriors really championed to get this day before the season, that they wanted a game on this day to celebrate everything that the Big 3 has done. And with all the storylines and narratives that has surrounded this team, specifically, in recent weeks during the last 10 games in which they've only won 2. A lot of people, I think, have been wondering, is this season going to be about the past, the present, or the future? And right now, at least coming into this game, you could kind of say that they're stuck between the past and the present, and they haven't really at all focused on the future. I think, to me, this game was kind of a perfect culmination of all 3. Because you're obviously there to honor the 3 longest tenured players in the NBA currently, but the 3 longest tenured trio, the longest tenured trio in NBA history. The 12 seasons since 2012-13 that Draymond, Klay Thompson, and Stephen Curry have spent together. They've produced 4 championships. They've done so much, and they've transformed this organization along with what basketball has looked like in the Bay Area. To me, this was a game that also checked the box to the present, which is you still have Stephen Curry who's playing at a miraculous level, and his final line, 26 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. I think his 320th game in which he's scored 25 and logged 5 or more assists. Stephen Curry, 8 of 15, 3 of 9 from downtown, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. Stephen Curry was fantastic. Klay Thompson, His overall line is something that might not necessarily pop off the page. 22 points on 18 shots and just 2 of 7 from distance. But to me, the difference in Klay tonight, as opposed to even in Sacramento, in which he had a very good first half, did not have a great second half. Klay Thompson, to me, once he got going around the third quarter, and once he helped sort of silence a Clippers run that cut the game to within 4, Klay Thompson began to look like the Klay of old, which was making the shots we expect him to, taking the correct shots, and not shooting the Warriors out of particular possessions. I thought he was fantastic, and it's also reflected in the plus-minus. He was a +8 tonight. And so, when you look at everyone here tonight, the 9-man rotation, Andrew Wiggins is out, Chris Paul is out, GP2's out, against a Clippers team that was pretty much at full strength. The only real question mark going into this game was Norman Powell, who had a right leg injury, and he played tonight. Kawhi Leonard was cooking in the second half, 9 of 17 for 23 points. Zubac has always given the Warriors fits because of their lack of size, and whether it was Zubac along with, I thought, the length of the Clippers, it kind of played Kevon Looney off the floor. He only played 13 minutes tonight, and the Warriors opted to go small against a team, and were punished a little bit. Zubac had 18 and 13, but they didn't let the Clippers, I thought, get too comfortable outside of that stretch from the end of the first half through the few minutes into the second half. And that was maybe a situation where I think a lot of fans are saying, oh my gosh, here we go again. First half, solid, up by close to 20 points at 1.16. Clippers go on a mini 5-0 run, final 43 seconds of the half. Should not have been that close. And then they go out on a 10-3 run to start the half, and they cut it down to 4, and you're saying, oh my gosh, this is a game that the Warriors might lose again, especially coming off the 24-point blown lead in Sacramento. But what happens? Klay Thompson, back-to-back baskets. The bench stabilizing for Golden State. And then Curry down the stretch of that game was absolutely fantastic. Just going one-on-one with Zubac, hanging layup, one-on-one on PG-13, drawing a shooting foul, getting both free throws. After missing a deep 3 late in the shot clock, goes pick and roll, gets to the rim for a layup, and essentially ices the game. Stephen Curry is the closer the Warriors have needed, but they got to be able to put themselves in that position for him to close out these basketball games. And so, to me, I want to hear from what the fans feel like on Warriors wrap-up. Evan Giddings with you here on 95.7 The Game. 888-957-9570 is the number. Comcast Business text line. Appreciate you chiming in and joining us here. And after a Warriors win that, look, 120-114, the Warriors are not in a position to nitpick victories at this point of the season. They are still a game below 500. They are 9-10. Now, they do jump themselves back into play-in tournament contention, not in-season tournament contention because they lost in Sacramento. But they beat the Clippers here tonight. They scored 34 points in the fourth quarter. They scored 61 points in the first half to give themselves the cushion necessary to close out this basketball game. The big three between the three of them, Steph, Klay, and Dre, score 61 points, and they get a much-needed win. I thought they got a team win tonight. And really, I know we're going to hear from Steve Kerr in just a little bit, but to me, I thought his initial point about the story of this game, outside of course, the honoring of the big three, was the bench and was the second unit. You just look up and down at Saric, Kuminga, Podziemski, and even Joseph. Plus 15, plus 13, plus 12, plus 12. And I thought this was Jonathan Kuminga's best game of the season. It certainly was Podziemski's most impactful game of the season. And both of those guys, along with Saric, piled up the points in which the Warriors needed the team. They were a big reason, number one, in the first half, why the Warriors were able to get a 16-point lead. They were then a big reason why in the second half, when the Clippers closed the gap, why they were able to get back to a double-digit advantage and then eventually close this basketball game. Just kind of going through some of the things that stood out to me, I was wondering at the half, the way that the Warriors had kind of, I thought the Warriors came out in this game hungry. I thought they came out with a sense of urgency. And for the first 23 of the 24 minutes in the first half, I thought they did a good job at stepping on the throat of a Clippers team that was playing on the tail end of a back-to-back, looked a little bit lackadaisical, was kind of sleepwalking at times, not getting to loose balls, not rebounding. And that's an opportunity in which the Warriors, I thought, grabbed by the reins. But in that final 43 seconds of 5-0 Clippers run, they are able to get themselves back and kind of, I thought, a little bit more motivated. So it was a poor half close for the Warriors. And then even out of it, 10-3 run for the Clippers, 14-3 run dating back to the 42 seconds left in the first half. The Clips cut it to 4, and then the Warriors respond in the way that, not that we haven't seen them do that this year, but over the last 10, 11 games has been lacking, shall we say. And now they've won 3 of their last 11. Nothing to write home about, but in a spot like this tonight where a lot of eyes were on the Warriors kind of down a few big pieces, who is going to be that secondary scorer? Who is going to be a guy that could stop Kawhi Leonard or could at least slow Kawhi down, that could get in the grill of James Harden, that could contest shots in front of Paul George? Who was a guy that was going to facilitate this second unit? Those were questions that needed to be answered tonight. When Andrew Wiggins is down, you need some scoring in the starting lineup. I thought Moses Moody, though he didn't shoot it particularly well from range, 1 of 4 from 3, I thought he made the right plays. He made the smart plays, and he raised the floor of this Warriors starting lineup, contributing 6 of 10 from the floor. If you're looking at the second unit, who is able to stabilize things? I know Brandon Podziemski is a guy that's going to get a lot of love tonight, but I also think the combination of him with Corey Joseph, 2 guys that know where the ball needs to go at all times. I thought they were the perfect complement for Jonathan Kuminga, who at times can get lost, but tonight, because of, I thought, a different type of energy, he looked locked in, combined with the fact that he's on the floor with that second unit with 2 to 3 pass first players and guys that are looking to get him his shot. The amount of open threes that Jonathan Kuminga had tonight, some of which he took, and of course he made 3 of 5 from distance, but the other ones that he also passed up, I thought was huge. And so I want to hear from you what you thought of this game. 888-957-9570 is the number. This is Warriors Wrap-Up. Evan Giddings with you here on 95.7 The Game. What's up to the YouTube chat? What's up to the Comcast Business text line? 888-957-9570. 120-114 Warriors win against the LA Clippers. They move back within a game below 500, and then get a much-needed team victory. Let's get out to Pacifica. Get the calls in right now. Junior's at Pacifica. What's up, Junior? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. How are you?
Hey, great talking to you. I really enjoyed the game tonight. It was really fun to see the blend of old and new making it happen. But it feels like the younger players still need a year or two. It feels like the older players are kind of heading out the door, on schedule rather than 2 or 3 years later. And losing GP2 for most of the season, he just plugged in so well with both the older and the younger. He's such a great bridge, and to lose him, it feels really serious. So, I mean, I'm going to enjoy watching the Warriors going forward for this next year or two, but the dynasties are made out of coaches with new approaches and generational players, right? So we had that with Steve Kerr and the Warriors, Steph Curry and everything. We had it with the Niners, a couple of times now, and the Giants, amazing few years ago, a decade ago. But I don't feel like the pieces are coming together right now. I'm frustrated. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to cheer the Warriors on, but I don't see great things for the next couple of years. I don't know what you think.
Thanks, Junior. Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves as far as what the future holds. All good things must come to an end, and I think that's why the combination of course, the win. It's always good to get a win, and I appreciate you, Junior. Your perspective is broad picture, is macro as opposed to just the micro of tonight. But I do think we have to keep in mind where the Warriors are at right now, which is the end of November. They round in a month in which they go 6-9, below 500. That in itself is not championship basketball. But right now, I don't know if it's fair to look at the Warriors as a title team. They're trying to prove to themselves and to us that they can get back to looking like title contenders. So I do kind of want to table that conversation for a bit. But I think it kind of stems, and I think the concern is understandable in a night in which it's all about the big three, right? It's all about Steph, Clay, and Dre. This is their night, 11-30-23. It's all about them. And while they didn't have a necessarily throwback, quintessential big three performance, I thought what they did for this team is kind of the the table, the tablet, or kind of the roadmap to victory. I mean, if you're looking at the particular path to victory for a team in the Warriors that, again, within the scope of this game, are missing your third leading scorer, are missing your leader in assists and the leader of your second unit, your sixth man, and are also missing a top three, I would say, defender on the team. I know GP2 doesn't play as much as maybe Andrew Wiggins or Draymond Green, but I would put him in that group as far as guys that you could put on Kawhi Leonard and maybe make his life a little bit difficult. You could put on James Harden to make him after work. You could put on Paul George. And also for a Clippers team, too, that I do wonder a bit how much of this was on LA and a team that, again, we talked about it in Warriors Live in the pregame. How much of this Clippers team is just individual talent that is not going to be able to gel? And they're trying to figure out their own growing pains. But that doesn't take away from what the Warriors did tonight, which I thought was a necessary victory, in which, again, if you're looking at the kind of ways that the Warriors came out and started 5-2 this year, it wasn't a lot of Steph, as far as big minutes. Tonight, Stephen Curry played 33 minutes. Tonight, to me, that is exactly where Stephen Curry needs to be. At this stage in his career, 35 years old, extremely efficient, can still shoot the hell out of it. And I also thought, probably because of the absence of Chris Paul, we saw Stephen Curry have to revert back to a guy that can play both the 1 and the 2. I thought he came out in the starting 5 and was looking to facilitate. And then once the bench came in around the 6-minute mark and Curry played the final 4 down to the 2-minute mark of the fourth quarter, we saw him start to hunt. And so that's when you look up and you say, Stephen Curry, who entering this game was roughly a 1-to-1 turnover to assist ratio player. He's been shooting extremely well. He's been scoring a lot, but he hasn't been passing as much. So Stephen Curry tonight, 26 points, 8 assists, and 2 turnovers. One thing that Chris Paul did bring when he was on the floor was a stability to a team that has trouble taking care of the basketball. Historically, they always have. And tonight, I'm looking at the turnover column. Guys and girls, 7 turnovers for the Golden State Warriors. That, to me, is also a big reason why they won this game. So, we're talking about the Warriors, 120-114 LA Clippers. They defeat them at home. Warriors are now 9-10. They officially move into the 10 seed. So, for those that care about those sort of things, into the play-in, they actually jumped the Clippers before they play again on Saturday. That'll be an early afternoon game here on 95.7. The game, you can catch all 82 games. Tim Roy on all the calls. But Evan Giddings filling in here tonight on Warriors Wrap-Up. 888-957-9570 is the number if you want to call and tell us what you took away from that basketball game. If it's about the bench, if it's about the youth, if it's about the big three. If you want to get nostalgic, we're here for all of it here on 95.7 The Game. That's also the number for the Comcast business text line. One player I thought was key to victory in this game off the bench, or really the two players that caught my eye the most, Brandon Podziemski, but then also Jonathan Kuminga. And I said it off the top. To me, this was Jonathan Kuminga's best game this season. I don't know about as a pro, but you look at the efficiency from Jonathan Kuminga tonight. In 23 minutes, 8 shots, 5 threes, 6 made field goals, 3 of them from distance, 17 points in 23 minutes. At one point, he'd scored 15 points in 16 minutes. And the play to me that kind of encapsulated his evening, it was in the second half, and Jonathan Kuminga, it wasn't even involving a basket. Jonathan Kuminga was a plus 21 in the first half, by the way. But if you look at the third quarter, and right when the Clippers kind of finished up their run, Clay hit back-to-back shots, 7-0 run by the Dubs, and then right after that Clippers timeout, Kuminga comes down and commits a silly turnover, a turnover that a 21-year-old will make. And in the past, I feel like Kuminga would either put his head down, maybe kind of get in his own head a little bit, but instead, he turns and burns. He rips it up court, he sprints ahead, and he sticks his hand in a passing lane to force an errant pass off of Russell Westbrook. So Jonathan Kuminga didn't compound the mistake in the front court, and instead, he almost used it as motivation to get into the backcourt. I thought Kuminga was engaged tonight from start to finish. A lot of that, I'm sure, has to do with the fact that his shot's falling. But to me, also, that's exactly where I think Jonathan Kuminga needs to be right now for this team, which is looking engaged in all of his minutes. even if it's a mistake. You're never going to play perfect basketball. It doesn't happen. But don't let the turnover then turn into an easy basket on the other end if you have the ability to impact the play in the way that Kuminga does as arguably the most athletic player on this basketball team. Speaking of which, I believe Steve Kerr spoke about this after the game. Here's what he had to say about JK.
Klay Thompson, obviously, people have been talking about him underperforming, but tonight, I know he was being facetious earlier in the week when he talked about being benched, but in that group that he played with there in the fourth, he scored 12 all game, and then he scored just as much as that, just 2 less than that in that few minutes with that group. Would you say that you would entertain the thought of him playing with that group?
Yeah. Well, he's playing with that second group. Routinely we take him out early in the game and then bring him back so that he can help anchor the bench unit. What I loved about Klay's game tonight is that he stayed patient through the missed shots. He had a lot of open shots that he missed early, and he didn't hang his head. He kept the energy defensively, stayed with it, and I felt like the game rewarded him during that flurry early in the fourth. I think he scored 10 or 12 straight points, and so that's what we need from him. And Draymond set a great tone, and I thought, but the story of the game was really the bench. Brandon, Dario, Corey, JK, they were fantastic and really controlled all their minutes while they were out there. It was fun to watch.
Steve, how welcome, given what Klay's been dealing with, how welcome was it to see him give you 10 points in 90 seconds at a time when the lead was pushed to 7 and he pushed it back out to 13?
Yeah, I mean, that's why he's out there with that group to give them a score. But as I said, it felt like the game rewarded him for just continuing to fight and not worrying about anything. He kept shooting, and the ball kind of bounced his way. But that's the Klay that I expect really the rest of the year. I mean, I thought he was great in Sacramento the other night. As long as he's patient and doesn't beat himself up, and just stays with it and brings the energy defensively, then he's a great player.
That was Steve Kerr speaking after the game. He touched on a couple of things, and of course, the story of the game as far as the bench is concerned. Klay Thompson's performance, talked about that individual 10-0 run that Klay Thompson went on to kind of push the lead back. And, to me, I thought he was instrumental in this game. Even though the 18 shots only led to 22 points, it looked like a much different Klay Thompson tonight in the win than it did, of course, in the loss on Tuesday against Sacramento. Well, it is time now here on Warriors Wrap-Up. And again, 888-957-9570 if you want to react to what Steve Kerr had to say about the game, about the bench, about Klay, about everything from tonight's 120-114 win. If you want to call in, 888-957-9570. Chime in on the YouTube chat, Comcast Business text line, same number. It's time to get to extending the three-point line.
Draymond with a dribble, right side, Thompson loads up a 3, bang!
And great push by Draymond there.
He doesn't push that. Klay doesn't get that space.
Nope.
And that was brought to you by West Coast Men's Health, successfully treating men for ED and chronic pain. Visit westcoastmenshealth.com. Klay Thompson pushing in transition. That looked like the Klay Thompson of old. I know he doesn't have it at all times, but that gave us a glimpse into what Klay can do, which is throw up threes, throw up points in a hurry at a time in which the Warriors, quite frankly, needed it when the game was closed. Clips cut it to 4 within 7, and then Klay goes on a personal 10-0 run to push the lead back up to double digits. The Warriors close out the Clippers tonight, 120-114. They get back into the win column now to the 10th spot. They are 9-10 overall this season. What did you think of the game? What do you think of where the Warriors are at? Evan Giddings with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll be back after this, but hit the phones. 888-957-9570 is the number. I want to hear from you. Comcast Business text line, call in. We'll talk more on the other side as we continue on Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game.
Let's head out. The theater's about to close.
Wait, what does that sign say?
Warning, watch your step?
No, next to it.
If you are...
in there to deflect it. And Kuminga now with a 9-point first half to go with 4 rebounds and 2 assists.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Tim Roy on the call there, 95.7 The Game. Evan Giddings with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up. 888-957-9570 is the number to call in. One final segment here. We're going to take this thing up to about 11:15, so please chime in on the Comcast Business text line. I see you on the YouTube chat. Appreciate everyone joining us after the Warriors defeat the Los Angeles Clippers at Chase Center tonight. 120-114 our final score. You heard the call there, Jonathan Kuminga's hustle play. And to me, that was the separation for Kuminga tonight. I know he has the ability to score, and he can do it. But when he also combines the activity defensively, and he combines the ability to use that athleticism and harness it in a fashion that impacts so many other aspects of the game outside of just scoring. Yes, he had 17 points on 6 of 8 shooting in 23 minutes. He also had a block. He also had a steal. He also had 6 rebounds. He also had 3 assists. And he had 1 foul. He had no personal fouls while guarding both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, 2 of the toughest one-on-one covers in the game. That, to me, is a microcosm for Jonathan Kuminga's night, and how active he was, how engaged he was. And I also, too, think Brandon Podziemski was a huge part of this basketball game, and that's why Brandon Podziemski, is the hardest worker of the game. From going from a DMP, he didn't play on Tuesday night in Sacramento, to 31 minutes, closing out this game, and grabbing a game-high 8 rebounds. Scored 13 points on 5 of 10, but 8 boards, 2 offensive rebounds, couple of assists for Podziemski. And he, to me, was the hardest worker of the game off the bench. 3 players with double digits tonight off the pine. Podziemski was one of them, and he's the hardest worker of the game, brought to you by Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to save your community. If you're looking for a career in law enforcement, learn more about job opportunities at joinacso.com. Evan Giddings with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up. 888-957-9570 is the number. Let's get out to Mark in Millbrae. Wants to talk about a couple of promising young Warriors. What's going on, Mark? You're on 95.7 The Game. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, you hit on him. Moody obviously is really starting to take that next step, but the factor is Kuminga. Because I think all in all, he's more talented, but it's the inconsistency that's keeping him from getting more of the rotational minutes. Obviously now they're going to need these younger guys because, like we expected, the older guys get hurt. GP2 out, CP3 and Wiggins out. So we need these guys more than ever. Obviously our big three really came through tonight. I hope tonight was a good stretch here starting for Clay. Really get it going. And when you can get double figures out of Draymond, that's going to be that's a huge added bonus. But to me, besides Moody, obviously, Kuminga's really got to be more consistent like he was tonight. Because if he really gets himself going, he gets Kerr's confidence, he can be part of the rotation there going forward, which is a critical factor because you need some of these younger guys to really break out. Because the big three obviously are coming, towards the end here, and so these guys are going to be part of the critical core. We're expecting that from Kuminga. He's been around long enough. I know he's still relatively a young guy, but still, he's been there for this is the fourth season, so he's really got to shine here. And Moody obviously is starting to show what he can do. So I hope tonight was a huge step in the right direction because the Clippers obviously they're struggling, but they dominated Sacramento last night, and now the Warriors really got to get a win streak going because the West is going to be even more difficult than it was last year. And so the Warriors can't afford to be inconsistent. Last year, they couldn't beat anybody on the road. This year, they're good on the road, and they're terrible at home, which is the opposite. Hopefully, especially at Chase Center, that's a huge home factor with the audience of Dub Nation there. They really got to get going here because they can't afford to be a 7-8 seed because I don't think this version of the Warriors is good enough, barring some major trade at the deadline, to make a run like they did last year.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Mark. Great call. I appreciate you just chiming in, and I think there's a lot to kind of parse there. To me, look, I said it during the pregame on Warriors Live. I don't think that championships are won in November, but sometimes they can be lost in November. To your point about falling behind and ending up looking at a 44, 45-ish win season and saying we got to play our way through the playoffs in road games. And again, I think that's for way down the line. But tonight, there were a few things to me that were moving in the positive direction for Golden State because coming off the loss against Sacramento, which was catastrophic for multiple reasons, but one of the things and kind of the overall message that we heard from Steve Kerr was he's going to ride or die with these veterans, man. Like, Klay Thompson's going to finish games. Andrew Wiggins, who wasn't available tonight, is going to finish games. But I do wonder, with a performance like Brandon Podziemski's, who was probably playing a lot of GP2's minutes. If GP2 was available tonight, he probably would have got a lot of those. But Brandon Podziemski forced Steve Kerr to let him finish that game with how he played, with how he moved the ball, with how cerebral he was on defense, with how active he was. The leading rebounder in the game was a guy that was 6'5", and he's a rookie 19th overall pick. Brandon Podziemski forced Steve Kerr to let him finish that game. Moses Moody on Tuesday, I think, did enough that a lot of people believe that he forced Steve Kerr to let him finish that game, but Steve Kerr didn't let him. I think Kerr, and he admitted this, made a mistake, that Moody should have finished that game against the Kings because he deserved that. And so maybe, like, I'm not saying Steve Kerr's a changed man. He is who he is, and he's going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off with the guys who this night was really all about, 11, 30, and 23. But I do wonder if a guy like Podziemski, if a guy like Moody, if a guy like Kuminga can continue to play with this sort of consistency, do they force Steve Kerr into those hard choices? Because to me, tonight, as much it was a great win, it was also, in a way, kind of a template that I thought the Warriors used to start 5-2. I thought they had a nice blend of the big three being able to start and in many cases close out games. But the bench has been the bright spot, probably the most consistent bright spot throughout this season for the Warriors. And tonight it was again. 44 points, 3 players in double digits. Dario Saric, I know is kind of going to get lost here. I thought he was fantastic and he connects a lot of what the Warriors want to do. But down the stretch, it was Curry. Klay Thompson, a personal 10-0 run in the third quarter. Draymond Green sends the tone with 2 threes off the top. They combined for 61 points. The big three is not a group that, to me, at this point in their careers, are going to will you through every single game. And look, the Clippers are right now at this point 8-10. But I think that they have some talent and they have guys that can test you. And the Warriors stood up to that test here tonight, and they're going to have to stand up that test on Saturday. So, without jumping to any massive conclusions about who this team is and where this team is going, I think there were bright spots tonight that we have not seen in large part for the entire month of November. And that's why they ended up 6-9. There were inconsistencies from the starting core. There were inconsistencies, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green was suspended. Now he's getting back into the swing of things. This is a team, to me, that even without GP2 for an extended period of time, has, I think, an ability to kind of puzzle piece their way into wins they did tonight because they played consistently. They took care of the basketball. 7 turnovers. I thought that they shot the ball well. Now, one thing that gives me some pause, and I want to hear from you at 888-957-9570. One thing that does give me pause is the inability of Golden State, and this is not just a tonight thing, but the inability of Golden State to get shots on the interior, to get shots in the paint. They were outscored 58-46 tonight, and midway through the game, it was almost being doubled up by Los Angeles. The Clippers are a team that, they're bigger, longer, maybe individually have some more talent at certain positions, but the Warriors played more connected tonight than we have seen them in a while, and that is something I was impressed by. Let's get out to Alameda, where Tony wants to talk about the win and a particular player we didn't see a whole lot of tonight. Tony, what's up, man? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Evan Giddings. How are you?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. It's a good win tonight. We got some help from everybody tonight. Okay, I don't want to pick on Looney tonight. He didn't play that much. Okay, and I kind of lean on that because I've been seeing Looney. He gets the ball down below. He does not know what to do with the ball. Okay, he doesn't want to take the foul and go in a free throw. And that's what I realized about the Looney. He gets some kind of like a little magic now and then, but then again, he turns to be he's like Bidris back in 10, 15 years ago. He doesn't want to get fouled. Only goes free throw. Okay, and I was happy with that. He didn't play that much. We got Zarek in there right now, and he's helping out. He's shooting 3 points, not high. But he's getting fouled, getting a free throw in there. I know he missed some free throw tonight. But the ball goes around. Moody, he is really he's the person that I'm really looking at him. Kuminga, he's not so much. I know he made some threes in there, but then again he fade away. Okay, that's kind of iffy to me right now. But the bottom line is Looney is the one I'm worried about. He is not type that who cannot take it to the rim when he gets the ball down below. Thank you for taking my call.
Appreciate it, Tony. No, I mean, I think that's an astute observation, and I think Kevon Looney is a player that, look, on some nights, and this was a game that we were talking about in Warriors Live, how I didn't think if we're looking at guys that can step up tonight, because with 3 rotation players, you're going to have players that can fill roughly 70 minutes of guys that are playing. So I didn't think that this would be a game for Trace Jackson Davis, just because the Clippers don't really play that big. They play small. They play long. They play with length. And I think that also applied to Kevon Looney, who didn't have a great game, sure. He wasn't finishing much around the rim. But Zubac is an issue for Looney, and he's an issue for the Warriors. But how can they overcome that without size? Well, you can do it with passing. You can do it with taking care of the basketball. You can do it with making shots. You can do it with playing correctly. You can do it with good defense. You can do it with gang rebounding. And I thought they did all of those things tonight against a team that, was playing pretty well coming in. And, of course, just absolutely drubbed the Sacramento Kings last night, playing on the tail end of a back-to-back. I think we're going to see a more even matchup on Saturday at the Clippers' home turf, and we'll see how they respond after a loss like this tonight. I don't think the score necessarily reflected how much the Warriors had it in hand. But again, we're not going to nitpick any victory at this point of the season. to me, the talk of championship caliber, association with the Warriors right now, that does need to be tabled, because the Warriors are at a place in the season that, to me, it's all about finding themselves. It's all about figuring out the identity of this team. And I thought we got a little bit of a glimpse into that tonight. I thought we got a glimpse of a team that, to me, if they are to be successful, if they are to play at a high level, it can't just be all about the vets. It can't be all about the past. It can't be all about the nostalgia. It can't be all about the future. And it can't be leaning all into the young guys. It has to be a perfect blend of both. A great recipe has spice. It's got, some savory flavors. It's got some sweetness. It's got a little bit of everything that makes you feel like you showed up to the meal and touched every single part of your palate. The Warriors, to me, even though, it may be a leap, yes, but tonight they did that. And I thought it was important also on a night in which we are celebrating the big three. We are celebrating Clay, Steph, and Dre for their contributions to a dynasty and to their continuing contributing efforts to what they want to continue to be a dynasty, to give themselves the best chance to go for a fifth title. And I think the young guys are going to have to be a big part of that. So, to me, 888-957-9570 is the number if you want to call in. Evan Giddings with you here on Warriors Wrap Up. Shout out to the YouTube chat. Shout out to the Comcast Business text line. All of these things are going to be important to the Warriors now, maybe more than ever, where Steve Kerr had the luxury of kind of sprinkling in veterans and experience to a core that was either budding or in its prime during their, dynasty years, the thick of the dynasty years. Now he has been operating in reverse, in that he's been trying to sprinkle this youth into a pot of primarily veterans. And I think there needs to be more integration. I think there needs to be more melding, and that's going to take time. In the meantime, while you try and figure that out, you do, though, need to win basketball games. You do need, though, to stay afloat in a West that, to our caller's point earlier, was saying gets a bit muddled, gets a bit mucky, and the Warriors can't fall too far behind. So that's why a game like tonight, to me, is valuable to the Warriors, because you need to win. And also, when you're down three guys, things are not going to be easy, and you do have to piece things together. Teams across the league have to piece their seasons together because guys are missing games, it feels like, now more than ever. And unfortunately, you're going to be without Gary Payton II for an extended period of time. So I thought all of that was important. By the way, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. For the 267 on the Comcast Business text line, Clay needs to find his old form and play like he can for the Warriors to get on a win streak. I'm 100% with you. I want to see the Clay from the second half of tonight. I want to see a Clay Thompson that, yes, was hitting his shots, but also I thought found a way to be productive without the J necessarily falling. There was one play in the second half in which Clay had, actually, pardon me, it was the first half, in which Clay had missed a couple of threes in a row, and he had an open three in the corner. And instead of taking the three, which Clay Thompson is known to do for a wide open corner three, he takes a couple of dribbles in and he dumps it off to Draymond for a backdoor cut. And I thought the Warriors took advantage of a Clippers team that, I mean, quite frankly, to me, does not play up to their level of talent, does not play up to their defensive prowess that they have the ability to with three quality wing defenders around the perimeter. They do not do that, and you can catch them napping. And I think the Warriors, when they did have success inside the paint, getting into the paint, that's where they made their hay. From the 707, that win was closer than it should have been. I also agree with that. This was a Warriors team that was up by 16 in the first half. They were also up by 24 against the Kings. They blew that game in miraculous fashion. The game did come down maybe a little bit closer than it should have. But to me, again, this is a situation in which the Warriors, we cannot, and maybe if you want to nitpick, that's fine. But to me, I'm not at the point in the season where I'm going to look at this and say, the Warriors should have blown them out. This game should have been over and done with. Stephen Curry played 33 minutes. He shot 15 times. He closed the game out with 11 fourth quarter points. When he scores 6 or more in the fourth quarter, the Warriors are 9-2. When he doesn't, they're 0-6. Or pardon me, they're 0-8. I don't think that's necessarily a coincidence. If the bench, along with the remaining cast, can find a way to get them to the finish line, I more times often than not feel confident that Stephen Curry can guide this ship home to port. And that's one of the ways I felt like they were able to win this basketball game. Nick is out in, was at the game. All right, Nick, what's going on? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Evan. How are you, man? Welcome to 95.7 The Game.
I'm doing great, thanks. Great time at the game. I just want to comment really quick on, in terms of the feeling kind of the urgency factor, it's really not there. I really believe that this team is more indicative of the first 7 or 8 games of the season than the last 8 or 9 games of the season, just because so much chaos has been happening since Draymond got suspended and Wiggins and Clay took time to find themselves. I'm really not pressing the panic button just yet. I really think we're a top 3 team in the West. So I'm excited to see. My money's on them to win it all, believe it or not. But and lastly, I want to say, with regard to Pods, this guy's only 20 years old, and he's already better than Moody and Kuminga were in their first 2 years. I'm more excited about him 2 years from now. I think next year he's going to be the backup point guard when CP probably moves on, unfortunately. But I'm really excited about Pods, man. What do you think about that?
I'm 100% with you, Nick. I can't wait to see what this guy's going to be. Brandon Podziemski needs to play. He does. Brandon Podziemski needs to play because, especially now with Gary Payton II on the shelf, I'm looking at a team that can use athleticism, that can use quickness, that can use know-how, and that has an ability to make a shot with some consistency. Brandon Podziemski checks all those boxes and potentially then some. And to your point, Nick, he's just a rookie. Like, I think this guy is someone that the Warriors were able to identify as sure a fit, but I think he's even shocked them. I know he shocked me. And he was the 19th overall pick. He's from Santa Clara. I had a chance. I call West Coast Conference basketball games. I had a chance to go down there and see him. And to me, he is light years beyond where, and no pun intended, shout out Joe Lacob, he's light years beyond where I thought he'd be at this point, contributing down the stretch of a game against a Clippers team that has aspirations of their own to make a deep playoff run. He's out there with James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard closing out a basketball game because, again, I'll reiterate this, he forced them. Brandon Podziemski forced Steve Kerr to let him finish that game. I know they were shorthanded. I know they needed guys to pick up spots, to pick up minutes. But Podziemski, if that was Gary Payton II and he was giving the Warriors that kind of youthful energy, that kind of, I don't know, like doing all the dirty work, like he picked up a charge late, was getting his hand in passing lanes. To me, Podziemski, even though he is just 20 years old, is a guy that currently appears to be playing beyond his years, and I think he deserves some more time. Shaka's out in Berkeley. Wants to talk about the Young Dubs. Whew, they showed out tonight, Shaka. What's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Evan on 95.7 The Game. How are you?
All right, how you been doing, Evan?
Oh, chilling, man. How you doing?
I want to say, I'm blessed by the best, man.
Love that.
I want to say Podziemski and Kuminga, energy. That energy is what will take us further. You know, because Kerr's sometimes reluctant to get the young players. They need to be involved because we can't just rely on Steph being hot every day or another one of the big three just having the team on his shoulders. The young players need to get involved. And also, I heard about Looney. Looney has, he has a problem with the size, but if I got to go to battle, I'm taking Looney with me every time, man. That's all I want to say, man.
Appreciate it, Shaka. Yeah, no, I'll take Looney in my foxhole, but I also know that there's some games in which, not that Looney can't help you, but there are better games suited than others. On Saturday, Kevon Looney might be able to help you more than he did tonight. I just think the Clippers are kind of a bad matchup for Kevon Looney, and that's why he played 13 minutes. So, they were able to find rebounding elsewhere. Brandon Podziemski led the way with 8 points. I think that this was a team win tonight, and kind of as we wind down here on Warriors Wrap-Up, just a couple of minutes left, I want to read a few messages from the Comcast Business text line. For the 510, if Kuminga plays like this consistently, he'll be a rotation player, maybe even the sixth man. Kerr would be happy if he had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and 0 points. I'm kind of with you. And I think the other part, too, is he did not foul tonight. There was no mistakes up top, upstairs in his dome. He wasn't getting in his dome. And I think that was huge for Kuminga. from the 510. I want to see more Warriors basketball with low turnovers like tonight, and they'll have a chance to win every night. I'm also with you. 7 turnovers for this kind of team without Chris Paul might be asking for a lot, but if they can find a way to do it, if Steph Curry, the point god, can find a way to have a 4-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, unlike he's been doing the first 18 games of the season, then they will be in a lot of games. If they don't shoot themselves in the foot, I think the Warriors do have a place in most basketball games, and I think they'll have a chance to repeat the victory on Saturday when they head down to L.A. So that's going to be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to that one as well as we wrap things up here on Warriors Wrap-Up. My name is Evan Giddings. I'll be with you over the weekend as well. Want to make sure to shout out everyone in the YouTube chat, everyone that's contributed on the Comcast Business text line, everyone that's called in here to Warriors Wrap-Up. A reminder that we'll have Warriors this week. Myself, along with Dan Devone, will be hosting that from 9 a.m. to noon. And then we got your pregame Warriors Live, Warriors Wrap-Up before a 1 o'clock tip at L.A., Warriors and Clippers. The Warriors right now are 9-10. They are 10th place in the Western Conference. But they're going to try and build some consistency. Again, a big night for the Big Three, 11-30-23. I hope everyone enjoyed the nostalgia. I hope everyone enjoyed the history. I hope everyone enjoyed the infusion of the youth and a great overall team win, 120-114. Still a lot of work to do for the Golden State Warriors, who again remain a game below 500, but a step in the right direction tonight. How can they follow that up on Saturday? That is what I'm looking forward to the most. Again, 1 o'clock tip, 95.7 The Game. Tim Roy will be on the call. Warriors live at noon. Warriors this week with myself and Dan Devone from 9 to 12. I look forward to that. I look forward to talking to all of you over the weekend. And I look forward to hearing what everyone's got to say on a football Friday, because we do have a big game. 49ers and Eagles this Sunday at 1:25. I know 95.7 The Game is going to be rocking from 6 to 6, all red and gold as the Niners gear up for the Eagles. As that will do it for this edition of Warriors Wrap-Up. My name is Evan Giddings. A big thank you to Sterling Bennett. Big thank you to John Lucan back here cutting all these things up as far as sound, as far as production, as far as making this show go. And a big appreciation to all those of you chiming in. This has been my first time filling in here as of late. Look forward to Saturday. I look forward to getting to know all of you Warriors fans out there here on 95.7 The Game. That'll do it for Warriors Wrap-Up. My name is Evan Giddings, saying so long as the Warriors defeat the Los Angeles Clippers again one last time, 120-114. Have a good rest of your night. We'll talk to you next time.
It's time to save big every day during our 25 days of deals at Lowe's. Right now, get up